Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. Today is the day we're going to go and take on the Ender Dragon. The first thing I'm going to do is spend a bunch of my experience levels because I have 44 of them right now, and A, we might lose them in the dragon fight, but B, if we are successful in the dragon fight, we'll potentially end up getting a lot more levels from killing the dragon. So I'm just going to spend these on a bunch of enchanted books. It doesn't exactly matter what right now because I don't have any tools or armor or anything that I want to enchant at the minute. And if I'm being honest, we didn't get any especially good books out of that, but that's fine, at least we used our XP levels. And now without further ado, we're going to head through to the Nether where I've set up a portal to the stronghold in the previous episode, and we can make our way to the end for the first time. Now, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I've got a bunch of logs with me. I also brought some scaffolding for reasons that will become obvious a little bit later. I'm going to throw down my ender chest here and grab the last eye of ender, top up on my golden carrots. We've also got a golden apple here in the chest that I might bring with me. Now, I mentioned that beds explode in the end. The bed I've got in my inventory isn't actually for taking to the end, it's for setting my spawn in here, just in case we end up getting killed by the dragon. We should hopefully be able to return to the end nice and quickly and continue the fight, picking up our items and carrying on from there. If you're concerned about dying, well, in the end, if you're in a hardcore world, of course, you can bring a totem of undying with you, like the one we got from the pillager raid recently. But without further ado, we can start up the portal, which has this really cool parallax scrolling kind of effect, and it's time to step on through. We'll get our logs broken down into some planks just in case we need them, and we'll go through to the end. Okay, so we didn't need the planks after all, because we are inside a box. The platform here, the obsidian platform, has generated inside the island, and we can already see the Ender Dragon's boss bar. So our first task is to break through to the surface where an island full of Endermen awaits. And somewhere in the air above these pillars should be the Ender Dragon. I have not heard it yet, but it is out there somewhere. Yep, I'm hearing it now, and there it is. Okay, and now the dragon should be circling around these towers, and you'll notice this beam kind of connecting the dragon to the towers as it flies overhead. For now, it won't do too much to attack the player. It will occasionally spit a fireball down on you, and that will leave a cloud of dragon's breath on the ground, which we need to avoid. If you want to, you can bring some empty glass bottles in order to fill up with dragon's breath, but in this case, we're just going to be running around the arena, taking out these end crystals with a bow. There we go, and each one of those we take out will be destroyed, and if it's linked to the dragon when you destroy it, it should deal a little extra damage to the dragon. So sometimes we can go for that, but other times we're just looking to take down the crystals that we have easy vantage points on. Like that one up there, I can aim a little bit higher. The dragon is now coming down to perch on this central portal, so I need to stay aware of which direction it's facing, avoid the dragon's breath, and potentially get ready to run away. The other thing I'm making sure that I do is not look at any of these Endermen, because dealing with an Enderman in the middle of this fight is not something I want right now. And the dragon might distract a few of the Endermen. It might end up hitting a couple of the Endermen, so we're not going to worry too much about that, because the Enderman will just run around impotently trying to chase down the dragon. We've got a couple of the towers down already. We've managed to destroy a couple of those crystals, and it's really about running around, avoiding the dragon's breath, and trying to find the best angle to shoot these crystals from. Anytime you hear a fireball effect like that, that means that the dragon has shot some dragon's breath at you, so it's usually a good idea to change position. And if you want to, you might be able to snipe one of these crystals from shooting at it from the corner, like so. That was an incredible first shot. I'm really happy with that one, actually. The other way I recommend dealing with these pillars, which can be a little bit difficult to take care of, is to make sure that the dragon is not directly overhead when you do this. So we'll wait for it to circle round, attached to one of the towers over there, and hopefully it shouldn't be too concentrated on the player. There we go, we can move out of the way of that, and then I'm going to build scaffolding up the side of this tower, just placing the scaffolding one against each other. These towers are relatively short, so it shouldn't be too difficult to do that. And then when we get to about this height and we're still protected by a couple of blocks of obsidian, It is possible to break that crystal manually, and it will explode harmlessly without any damage to the player. Just make sure it's not at waist height for you, because that's when it's going to deal the most damage. Now, about half the crystals have now been taken down, and we've taken out the 2 that are in cages, so we should be able to snipe the remaining ones. I need to just make sure I know which ones those are, and if necessary, we can use a combination of scaffolding in order to pillar up, and then a bucket of water to make sure that we get a safe fall. There we go, we got another one, and I'm not sure if that was the last one, but I think it is. Nope, we got one more on the tower up there. Okay, and it should be slightly easier to snipe it from the side where the diagonal parts are, so I'll move over, adjust my aim, and see if I can hit that crystal at the top of the tower. You might not see the explosion effects from a distance every single time, so it's really a matter of just adjusting your aim, there we go, and seeing if the dragon takes any damage, if it's currently healing from that one. Now, the dragon is spiraling down towards the portal, and with most, if not all, of the crystals destroyed, it should be possible to get in here and attack. Now, obviously, it's making a lot of noise right now, but we can jump into the portal and attack the head from below, but that's often not a great idea when there are Endermen chasing me. So I'm going to get out into a big open area. I'm going to try and avoid getting in the path of the dragon as it flies away. There we go. And now if I place down a bucket of water, that should potentially defend me from the Enderman that's trying to attack me, which I think is this one over here. So once he gets close enough to me, I should be able to swipe a sword a couple of times, take him out. We've mostly just got to make sure that we don't end up in the dragon's breath at the time, so we can maybe readjust where that water is. And there we go. It looks like the Enderman actually died in the dragon's breath over here trying to get to me. After a while, the dragon's breath will naturally disperse, so we don't need to worry too much about that. We can focus on hitting the dragon with the bow and arrow while it's circling like this. Pay attention to when it fireballs and run underneath that so that we don't get hit with the fireball. And I think the dragon ended up tossing us up into the air from the portal position there because the Enderman hit me, and that knocked me up into the dragon's hitbox while it was perching. So let's try that again. We'll run underneath to try and get some melee damage in. We just need to jump and deal some critical damage to the head a few times. And there we go. Whoa, let's see if I can catch this with the water bucket. Nope, but it looks like I managed to avoid enough damage thanks to having feather falling on my boots. And as long as we avoid the dragon's breath, we should be able to come back in here and deal another couple of points of damage to the head. There we go. We got knocked up into the air again. Just going to make sure I end up healing, and we've attracted the attention of another Enderman. So I'm going to get into an open area once again, throw down my water bucket, and hopefully avoid taking any major damage. Whoa, okay, the dragon got me as well that time, so that could potentially be a little dangerous. It looks like the dragon has more Enderman on it than I do, but they're unable to do any sincere damage to the dragon considering it's flying around. All right, let's see if we can get in a few more bow shots from ground level. We've been thrown around a little bit by the dragon, but fortunately, fall damage hasn't done much to us, and we're still playing on normal difficulty, so the Endermen aren't dealing a great deal of damage either. It's going to be difficult to deal too much damage to the dragon while it's circling in the air. My stray arrows are occasionally hitting it, but it looks like now it's coming down for one final perch on the portal where we can deal a little extra damage to it if we can get a couple of well-timed shots in as it spirals in the air like this. And it looks like we should be able to go in for the kill with a sword and finish it off. Let's just make sure we're not standing under its head when we do this. There we go, one last time into the portal. Let's jump and crit the head a couple of times. And that should be the final blow. We can step out of the portal right here. And at this point, we have freed the end. The dragon's reign is over. And it will drop a whole bunch of XP orbs. These orbs are going to get us an absolute buttload of XP. That's right, we've started at level 29. We're going to end up somewhere above level 60 by the time we have collected up all of this. There we go, 69. Very nice. Okay, so we have now made it through that challenge. We've completed the dragon fight, and a couple of things have happened. First of all, this portal has been restored in the center of the island, and jumping back into this will return us to our spawn point in the overworld, which you'll remember we actually set by laying down a bed at the stronghold near our portal. So that's what will happen if we jump back in the portal and return. A couple of other things have happened. So on top of this pedestal, there is now a dragon egg, and the egg will teleport when it is touched. So we're going to tap that really quick, observe exactly where it lands, and then, since this is a block that is affected by gravity, we can simply dig out a couple of blocks underneath it, place a torch, and break the block the egg is standing on. The egg will drop onto it, we can claim the egg, and we receive the next generation advancement for picking up the dragon egg. We can now display that somewhere in our world as a trophy item if we want to, but there is only ever one dragon egg per world. At least this is true on Java Edition. I've had some Bedrock Edition players tell me that you can get multiple dragon eggs each time you respawn the dragon, but that is not the case in Java. You can only ever have one. And of course there are arcane glitches and ways of duplicating it and that kind of thing, but you are only ever supposed to have one dragon egg per world. Over here on this side of the island, a strange object has appeared in the sky, and that is an end gateway. That is our ticket out to the outer end islands, which you can't see from here, but do exist further out there in the void. There's effectively a ring around this central island, and amid those islands are end cities, which are structures that contain some of the most valuable loot in the game. So in the next episode, we're going to go and check those out. In fact, I might actually head out there at the end of this episode, and then we can start the next episode by raiding an end city. But in the meantime, since we haven't had a chance to really discuss it, let's talk about the environment around here. Obviously, the only mob out here aside from the Ender Dragon is Enderman. They're incredibly frequent here on this island, and you will not find any other types of mobs spawning here, even phantoms. So thankfully, we don't have to worry about that, especially since you can't sleep out here in the end. Once again, beds will explode. The entire island is made up of this substance called endstone, which you can actually craft into endstone bricks if you want to. So that's access to a couple more building materials, which we're going to add to our storage system a little bit later. The pillars that the dragon has been circling are made of obsidian, so this actually constitutes a pretty radical source of obsidian if you wanted it for more nether portals, and I've kind of been hoping that we'll get to the Ender Dragon fight sooner or later, because I do need a great deal of obsidian, and converting the occasional lava lake doesn't always cut it. And the central portal here is made out of bedrock, so by conventional means there is no way of destroying or moving it. So I'm actually going to head home, because I didn't use up any of my slow falling potions, and right now they're just taking up space in my inventory. I probably want to put the dragon egg somewhere safe, and even though I've got an ender chest with me, I feel like we can probably clear out some of this extra clutter from my inventory and make ready for our trip out to the End Islands. So I'm going to hop into here, and the first thing that's going to happen is a poem starts to play, followed by the end credits. And I'm going to skip the end poem, because I think it's really something you should experience on your own as a reward for having beaten the game, so we're not going to show it in this video. But as you can see, we've respawned next to the bed that I placed and set my spawn point at in the stronghold, and apparently I set it slightly too close to the silverfish spawner. But that's fine, I'm going to make my way back to my base and we can unload a couple of things. Another great reason to come home is so that I can set my spawn here instead of having it set over at the stronghold, and you know what, I think we're going to put our dragon egg on display somewhere in one of these rooms. Like, it feels like something that we should have in our starter house, and you know what, this flower pot here has never had anything, strictly speaking, in it. So for the moment at least, I'm going to put the dragon egg here. I'll put the flower pot here on this table so we can always decorate with flowers if we can, but having the dragon egg there, you can see it from the window. It's a good reminder of that time that we beat the dragon. For now, I'm going to leave the slow falling potions in here. They might still be useful for certain aspects of the area we're about to tackle, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Over here in my storage system is where I want to be next, because I want to dedicate at least one slice of this filter to endstone. We're going to be getting a fair amount of it in the near future, so chances are we'll be using that endstone for a variety of building projects. We'll just be acquiring a great deal of it as we travel around the end. And I'm going to leave this space open here for another type of material that we will be getting a lot of from the end cities. I'm going to tuck the iron bars up here with the iron stuff, and basically everything else I'm going to bring with me, including the boat, which we could actually have used to pretty great effect if we wanted to trap an enderman that was attacking us. Occasionally, if you put a boat down on the ground right as the enderman is running up, they will get into the boat instead of being able to continue forward and attack the player. So that can be a good tactical approach if an enderman ends up rushing at you in the dragon fight and you need to think fast. Now, once again, I'm not too worried about dying out there in the end, but we might as well use up some of the levels that we got from the dragon fight on some more of these books. And there we go, we're actually getting efficiency 4 this time. Got multiple aqua affinity books. I got one Unbreaking 3 book though, which is kind of nice. And with only 27 levels left to lose, let's return to the stronghold and we'll pop back through to the end. On my return to the stronghold, I'm going to skip setting my spawn in that bed. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump straight in the portal to return to the end. Now, as you'll see, the end is much the same as we left it. The dragon doesn't respawn if you re-enter the end or anything. It is possible to respawn the dragon, but that needs 4 end crystals, like the ones that we blew up from the tops of these pillars. You can craft those using glass, ghast tears, and Eyes of Ender, and setting them on the middle blocks of bedrock on each of the 4 sides of this portal will start a sequence that regenerates the end crystals on the top of each of the obsidian towers and respawns the dragon. We'll be doing that in a future episode. The main reason to do that is so that you can fight the dragon again if you didn't get to bottle any dragon's breath the first time around, which we didn't worry about for our own purposes today. But in addition, every time you kill the dragon, it generates another one of these end gateways, and there are 20 of those that can be generated around the exterior of the island, all of which send you out in different directions into the outer end islands where we find end cities. So once we've explored in the direction this gateway takes us, it might save us a little bit of time to fight the dragon, generate a gateway in the opposite direction, and end up exploring that way. Now this section of the island is a little bit fragmented, so I'm going to be extra careful when I head up to here. I definitely don't want to get any Enderman fights because I don't really have anywhere to run if that's the case, and I think the best way to approach this portal is going to be to scaffold up to about waist height with the bedrock on the side of this portal. So let's see where we get to. We're probably about here, I think. We'll just make a tower of scaffolding directly upwards, and we should be able to climb this, and we find ourselves staring into the void of this portal. The main way you're supposed to get through these is by throwing an ender pearl directly through them, but it is also possible to set up a crafting table, craft a couple of trapdoors, and attach one to the top of the portal like so. Then by opening this trapdoor and then closing it on yourself, you'll be forced into a crawling position, and you can simply crawl into this teleporting block. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way, though. I'm going to take this crafting table with me because we might need that in the near future, and I'm going to throw an ender pearl directly through this, and that has teleported me to the outer end islands. If you take a look at the coordinates now, the central island centers on the 0, 0 coordinates, so we are now 750 blocks away from that and 500 on the Z axis. Now, as I step away, you'll notice that the game has generated a return gateway here, so if we were to throw an ender pearl directly through that block, we would return to the gateway we have just left. You need to be a little bit careful of the position that you left from, though, because if you haven't left any solid blocks around it, the game might not always find a solid surface to place you on. You'll spawn next to this portal and potentially fall into the void. So it's always a good idea, if these gateways do not generate above land, to make sure that you've built a solid platform around them before you travel through them. And now we make our way out into the outer end islands, which, as you can see right here, are still very heavily populated by Endermen. But they're also populated by these weird purple plants that look like something you'd see growing in a fish tank. These are chorus plants. They are called that because of the noise they make when they grow. But if we end up taking down one of these, you'll notice that much like cactus or scaffolding or other things that break this way, they break from the bottom up and they drop a bunch of mysterious fruits. These chorus fruits effectively allow you to act like an Enderman. You can eat them even if your hunger is full, and you'll simply teleport within a certain radius of where you were before. I believe the radius isn't quite as large as an Enderman's teleport radius, but it can be kind of a neat trick to do, especially if you're in combat. Chorus plants grow from chorus flowers, these larger buds that appear at the end of each of the stems of chorus plant, and we're going to destroy that individually, and that should drop as a chorus flower, which you can see is currently a different shape to the ones that end up at the top of each of these plants. If we plant that on the ground, the chorus plant will naturally grow over time. Cannot be bone mealed, it will simply grow up into a shape like one of these plants and split off into various different flowers, at which point it can be propagated. Once they decide to stop growing, they will close up like this, and you can harvest those to replant them somewhere else as regular chorus flowers. And normally you'll get at least 2 or 3 of them per plant that grows, so you'll end up with a decent amount of chorus plants to grow chorus fruit. There we go, this one is growing right here in front of us, and destroying the stem is what gives you the chorus fruit, although doing that will not drop any of the chorus flowers from the top, so it's important that you harvest those first. I believe you can also take those down by firing a bow and arrow at them. There you go. So if you're having trouble getting them from the higher reaches of the plant, there's a chance that you can get it that way, or by hurling a trident at it alternatively. And we're going to take at least a couple of these with us, along with some endstone, because these need to be planted on endstone in order to grow. And if you end up smelting chorus fruit, they become popped chorus fruit that's used in the crafting of purple blocks. So with that explanation out of the way, we're going to take the coordinates of this portal just in case we find that it is our only way back home. We may need to return to this in future, but for now we can light it up so it's a bit more visible from a distance, and if you want to, you can leave a trail of torches or other markers as you travel out into the end islands, which I recommend doing if it's your first visit here, because the landscape doesn't really have any landmarks that you can use to navigate visually, so it's going to become a little little disorienting if you don't know your way back. And naturally, if you're happy navigating using coordinates, then that's fine, but oh my goodness, it looks like we have gotten really lucky and stumbled into the location of an end city very close to our portal. You can see the structure of a ship appearing over there on the horizon. That is a ship that can only ever appear outside of an end city, and it looks like the end city itself is relatively small. We really don't have much of a city to go on there, but these ships contain some of the most valuable loot in the game. That is where we're going to find elytra, the wings that we'll be using to fly around in future episodes of this series. In order to get over there, we're going to craft a bunch more planks using the spruce wood that I brought with me, and we're going to craft those into slabs. So 30 planks ends up becoming 60 slabs, and now we can use these slabs to bridge out over the void. It's a fairly economical use of materials, and we need to make sure that we are crouching on the edges of these slabs and being very careful as we place them, because if we accidentally end up stepping off this bridge, we're going to be falling into the void, and once again, there is really no way back from that unless you're really quick with throwing an ender pearl. I always like to bridge over to a flat area of land so we can step off onto the shore here, and that is a bridge that can potentially take us back to our portal if we need it. So here we are, standing below a ship that has launched from an end city, and much as I'm sure people are excited for me to raid this, get hold of the elytra, and do some more exploration, that is where we're going to leave it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. We're going to tackle end cities, and hopefully more than one, in the next episode. So look forward to that, folks. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Good luck if you are about to face down the Ender Dragon for the first time. Let me know how it goes. In the meantime, my name has been Pixlriffs. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.